The early years, Venerable Āchariya Mun Bhuridatta Thera was a vipassanā meditation master of the highest caliber of this present age, one who is truly worthy of the eminent praise and admiration accorded to him by his close disciples. He taught the profound nature of Dhamma with such authority and persuasion that he left no doubts among his students about the exalted level of his spiritual attainment. His devoted followers consist of numerous monks and laity from virtually every region of Thailand. Besides these, he has many more devotees in Laos, where both monks and lay people feel a deep reverence for him. His story is truly a magnificent one throughout, from his early years in lay life through his long endeavor as a Buddhist monk to the day he finally passed away. Nowadays, a life of such unblemished excellence is harder to come by than a load of precious gemstones. Ãcariya Mun was born into a traditional Buddhist family on Thursday, January 20, 1870, the year of the goat. His birthplace was the village of Ban Kambong in the Kongjiam district of Ubon Ratchathani province. His father's name was Kamduang, his mother's June, and his family surname Kanki. He was the eldest child of 8 siblings, though only 2 of them were still alive when he passed away. A child of small stature with a fair complexion, he was naturally quick, energetic, intelligent, and resourceful. Biography of Ãcariya Mun. At the age of 15 he ordained as a novice in his village monastery where he developed an enthusiasm for the study of Dhamma, memorizing the texts with exceptional speed. A young novice of affable character, he never caused his teachers or fellows any trouble. 2 years into his new way of life his father requested him to give up the robes, and he was required to return to lay life in order to help out at home. However, his fondness for the monk's life was so pronounced that he was certain he would ordain again someday. His good memories of life in a monk's robes never faded. Thus, he resolved to enter the monkhood again as soon as possible. This strong sense of purpose was due, no doubt, to the power of that indomitable faith, known as saddha, which was such an integral part of his character. When he reached age 22, he felt an urge to ordain as a monk. So, for that purpose, he took leave of his parents. Not wanting to discourage his aspirations, and having also kept the hope that their son would ordain again someday, they gave their permission. To this end, they provided him with a complete set of a monk's basic requisites for his ordination. On June 12, 1893, he received his bhikkhu ordination at Wat Layap Monastery in the provincial town of Ubon Ratchathani. His upajjhaya was the Venerable Ariyakawi, his Kamavakariya was Fra Kru Sitha, and his Anusasana Acariya was Fra Kru Prajuka Bangkhun. He was given the monastic name Bhūridatta. After his ordination, he took residence at Wat Layap in Acariya Saw's Vipassanā Meditation Center. When Ãcariya Mun first began practicing Vipassana at Acariya Saw's center, he meditated constantly, internally repeating the word Buddha. The recollection of the Buddha, as he preferred this preparatory Dhamma theme above all others. In the beginning, he failed to experience the degree of calm and happiness that he expected, which caused him to doubt whether he was practicing correctly. Despite his doubt, he didn't flag in his persistent use of the word Buddha, and eventually his heart developed a certain measure of calm. One night he had a dream. He walked out of a village and entered a large, dense jungle overgrown with tangled undergrowth. He could hardly find a way to penetrate it. He struggled to find his way through this vast thicket until he finally emerged safe at the other end. When he came out, he found himself at the edge of an immense field that stretched as far as the eye could see. He set out resolutely, walking across this field until he happened to come across a huge fallen jati tree. Felled long ago, its trunk was partially embedded in the ground, and most of its bark and sapwood had already rotted away. He climbed upon this giant jati log and walked along its full length. As he walked, he reflected inwardly. He realized that this tree would never sprout and grow again. He compared this with his own life, which would certainly not rise again in any future existence. He identified the dead jati tree with his own life and sasra. Seeing that the tree had rotted away, never to root and spring to life again, he reckoned that, by keeping up his diligent practice, he would surely find a way to reach a definite conclusion to his own life in this very existence. The vast expanse of open field symbolized the nature of the never-ending cycle of birth and death. As he stood on the log contemplating this, a broad white stallion trotted up and stood next to the fallen jati tree. As it stood there, Ãcariya Mun felt an urge to ride it. So, he mounted the mysterious horse, which immediately raced off at full gallop. He had no idea where he was being taken or why. The horse just continued galloping at full speed without showing any obvious sign of direction or purpose. The distance it traveled across the vast field seemed immeasurable. As they strode along, Ãcariya Mun saw a beautiful Tipitaka cabinet in the distance, adorned with exquisite silver trim. Without guidance, the horse led him directly to the enclosed bookcase, and came to a halt right in front of it. The moment Ãcariya Mun dismounted with the aim of opening the cabinet, the white stallion vanished without a trace. As he stepped towards the bookcase, he noticed that it was standing at the very edge of the field with nothing in the background but more of the dense jungle, entangled and smothered with undergrowth. He saw no way of penetrating it. When he came to the Tipitaka cabinet, he reached out to open it, but, before he had a chance to discover the contents inside, he woke up. This was a dream nimitta, an omen confirming his belief that if he persevered in his efforts, he would undoubtedly discover a path for attaining what he sought. From then on, with renewed determination, Ãcariya Mun meditated intensively, unrelenting in his efforts to constantly repeat Buddha as he conducted all his daily affairs. At the same time, he very carefully observed the austere Dhutanga practices which he undertook at the time of his ordination, and continued to practice for the rest of his life. The Dhutangas he voluntarily undertook were, wearing only robes made from discarded cloth, not accepting robes directly offered by lay supporters, going on alms round every day without fail except those days when he decided to fast, accepting and eating only food received in his alms bowl, never receiving food offered after his alms round, eating only one meal a day, never eating food after the one meal, eating only out of the alms bowl, never eating food that is not inside the one vessel. Living in the forest, which means wandering through forested terrain, living and sleeping in the wilds, in the mountains or in the valleys, some time spent living under of trees, in a cave, or under an overhanging cliff, and wearing only his three principal robes, the outer robe, the upper robe, and the lower robe, 8 with the addition of a bathing cloth, which is necessary to have nowadays. Canopy. Ãcariya Mun also observed the remainder of the 13 Dhutanga practices when circumstances were convenient, but he upheld the above 7 routinely until they became integrated into his character. They became so much a part of him that it would be difficult to find one who is his equal these days. On his own accord, he showed earnestness in finding meaning in everything he did. He never approached his duties half-heartedly. His sincere aim, always, was to transcend the world. Everything he did was directed toward the noble effort of destroying the kilesas within himself. Due to this sense of purpose, he allowed no hiding room in his heart for arrogance and conceit, despite being exposed to the same defiling influences as was everyone else. In one respect, he differed markedly from the average person. Instead of allowing his mind free rein for the kilesas to trample all over, he always put up a fight, attacking them at every opportunity. Later, when he felt confident that he had developed a sufficiently solid foundation in his meditation, he investigated the dream nimitta. Turning his attention to the dream, he analyzed it until he gradually comprehended its full meaning. He saw that ordaining as a monk and practicing the Dhamma properly was equivalent to raising the level of the citta beyond the poisons of the world. The dense, entangled jungle, where dangers of every kind await to ambush, was the analogy for the citta, a repository of pain and misery. The citta must be lifted until it reaches the vast, wide-open expanse, a sphere of ultimate happiness, and freedom from all fear and concern. The majestic white stallion symbolized the path of practicing Dhamma. He rode the horse as the means of transport to the realm of complete contentment, where he encountered the beautiful Tipitaka cabinet with an exquisite design. Able only to look upon it, he lacked the spiritual perfection necessary to secure the cabinet's opening and admire its library to his heart's content, a feat accomplished only by one who has acquired Katupaisambhita. A person endowed with this fourfold knowledge is renowned throughout the three worlds for his brilliant wisdom and his comprehensive knowledge of teaching methods, extensive as the sea and sky. Such a one is never at a loss when teaching devas and humans. Because Ãcariya Mun lacked a sufficiently high level of spiritual perfection, he was denied the opportunity to open the cabinet, and had to be content with simply admiring its beauty. Consequently, he would attain only the level of Padasambhadanussas.